I had a question from
Cool.
our community. One guy, and I'm not paraphrasing at all, I'm quoting directly. Does Aaron own any YAMS? And I need you to answer this question specifically. Do you own YAMS?
Yes, I do. I do own
Yes,
them.
yes, yes.
Yes, yes. And I mined the yam. I mean, I did buy a little bit, but I
Uh-huh.
did mine some too.
Layer 1 is a podcast and community dedicated to helping you master all things crypto. We'll be bringing you the best interviews with project executives, technical analysis for trading of the most popular cryptocurrencies, and insight into what's actually happening behind the scenes.
As you join us each episode, you're going to hear about tokens, fundraisers, investments, and even crypto conspiracies. But please remember that nothing we say should be considered financial or legal advice.
Come join us on this journey and welcome to Layer 1.
All right, good morning, good evening, and good night. It is another episode of Layer 1. We have a great episode here for you guys. We have Kava Labs. They are a DeFi lending platform. I'll let Aaron talk about Kava here in a second, but I want to get to Dimitri. Dimitri, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Super excited for this guest. We obviously had these guys on the channel before, so I'm looking forward to kind of see what they have done since the last time we had them and kind of get their take on overall DeFi space, right? It's super hot right now. Everybody's throwing that word around everywhere. You know, we can discuss different sectors and what they think about it. Q, so like you mentioned, who do we have for today?
Yeah, we have Aaron Choi, head of business development for Kava Labs. And as Dimitri said, we had Kava, I think about like 10 months ago now. So these guys, I think, are the first team that is having a recurring interview on Layer 1. So we can't wait to talk to you guys again.
Nice.
Everything you guys are doing within Cosmos, everything that you guys are doing within DeFi, man, you guys are really killing it. So Aaron, what's going on today, man? How are you doing?
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Q. Thanks, Dimitri. Thanks for having me. And Kava Labs is definitely happy to be here. You know, this is the second time, I guess, that we've been on your show. And yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff since the last time. I mean, I had just joined the last time around. I joined Kava around last year in October, right before we did our launchpad IEO. But since then, I mean, we've launched our main net. We've launched our CDP product. We launched our minting reward system. You know, we just recently launched DeFi staking with Binance. You know, so Binance is now kind of actively using our system directly, and users can access that there. And that just happened, you know, not so long ago.
Yeah, we're definitely interested in like Layer 1 chains that are doing DeFi and everything outside of Ethereum, right? Because we've seen those high gas fees, we've seen the usability. But before we get into Kava, we have to touch on Aaron first. We have to touch on your background first,
Sure.
and see like kind of how you got yourself into tech, how you got yourself into crypto. I know you have an AMA here in like the next 6 hours too, so you're doing a bunch. But let's hear your background.
Yeah, sure. I started work in tech super early on. I graduated from school in the U.S. In San Diego, and then I moved up to San Francisco to work in Silicon Valley. Worked for a few startups there, all around. You know, when Facebook was just starting, you know, worked at some Facebook app companies, some gaming companies, some advertising companies, and then I moved over to Asia, where I was still in the kind of advertising, kind of doing a lot of that stuff. I personally got very interested in crypto fairly early on. I'd like to say kind of around 2012, 2013 is kind of when I first got you know, contacted with Bitcoin. Funny story is that the first person that gave me my first Bitcoin was actually Brian Armstrong.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah,
we got
I
an
know.
OG on the
OG.
cast.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy story because I used to live in San Francisco, and so one of my old roommates had hit me up when I moved over to Asia, and he was like, "Hey, Aaron, I got to introduce you to this guy." And I'm like, "Who?" And he's like, "Just some crazy guy. He's talking about Bitcoin. What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll talk to him." You know, so I had a Skype call with this guy. I wasn't really sure, you know, what it was. You know, he said, you know, "Do you know PayPal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I know PayPal." You know, he's like, "Well, give me your email. I set you up. You know, I'll send you your first Bitcoin." Back when I first got it, it was I have that email still. You know, I think it was like around like $10 to $12 for one Bitcoin. Of course, I didn't know what to do with it. I just let it sit in my account for like a year. You know, so I didn't really do anything with that. But then after you see kind of Bitcoin grow in 2013 to, you know, from like whatever I got it at all the way to 30, then 100, then dropping back down, then all the way to 1,000, you know, you start to pay attention. So, you know, I started getting in when it was like at 200, 300, and then a month later it was like 1,000. And then you get and then you get hooked. Yeah. And then I haven't left crypto ever since, you know?
Yeah, so most people do have this story of kind of being introduced to Bitcoin first. How did you find yourself kind of moving down the rung, or maybe going down further down the rabbit hole into maybe Ethereum and now Cosmos?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, like, so when I first got into Bitcoin, I mean, of course, Bitcoin's great, you know, and it's got, you know, the OGs, the original, and that's how I really got into this field. But for me, you know, I dove right into kind of everything. So when you hear, you know, when you first heard about Ethereum back in the day, kind of when there was an ICO going on, and kind of the new technologies, for me, that kind of took me in. I was just like, you know what, there's a lot bigger things than just Bitcoin. I mean, for me, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, but I mean, I still believe in this, you know, store of value for Bitcoin, and that will always be there. But I think that there's a lot of other things out there that will have other value, you know, and it won't be store of value. It'll be something else, you know, whatever the network is, you know, maybe the smart contract stuff, maybe just building kind of cool applications. Right now it's DeFi, you know, so all these things kind of hooked me in. And for me, you know, it's just moving from one technology to the next, and just learning everything about everything. And you know, I think back in the day, maybe like 2-3 years ago, when kind of the whole ICO era was going on, you know, people were calling me kind of the shitcoin king. You know, you just started to play around with everything, you know, and of course, you know, you get burned, you know, but that's how you learn, you know. And for me, it's just so dynamic, you know, and there's so many things that are actually happening. And I think, you know, for me, having started off in Silicon Valley and seeing a lot of kind of these experiments and startups happen, it's like you put that on like 10x speed or 100x speed, and then you get crypto. You know, you have all these different companies, all these different people that they're just brimming with ideas, and it's just amazing, you know, what you can see happen within, you know, 1 month, you know. And for me, kind of that's what gets me going, you know, just seeing that happen.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. What was your first thoughts when you know, somebody told you to, like, hey, this guy's gonna contact you about this Bitcoin? Were you thinking like, am I getting scammed here? Like,
No, I had totally no idea. I mean, like I went in just like an open, you know, open-minded, I guess, you know, like, and I heard this guy talk about it, and I was like, I didn't understand it at all. I mean, he hadn't given me the white paper or whatever. He started talking to me about digital money, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't get it. You know, like, we already have PayPal. How is this any different? You know, I didn't understand that money was not, you know, USD cash money. It was something else different. But for me at the time, no idea, you know, and only after probably 6 months to a year after I received that Bitcoin did I start to do real research, understand kind of what was happening. But even then, I mean, like, you really don't know until kind of you're deep in it. So for me, I mean, and it's still a learning process. Yeah.
Gotcha. And when did you see like the Silicon Valley kind of VC starting to pick up the interest? Because it seems like, you know, obviously, like, during the bull market, during the ICOs, right? It seems like it was like kind of a hockey stick, you know, like
Yeah.
upward movement in terms of the interest that's coming from VCs. You know, what was the you know, when you first got introduced to the Bitcoin, I guess the Silicon Valley was not really interested at all, right?
No way. Yeah. I remember during the conversation, it just felt like Brian was struggling trying to kind of get anywhere with this. And I mean, like, and even after him and I had our conversation, I mean, I didn't really talk to him kind of after, really. But it's just like seeing Coinbase not really do anything. You know, it was just like, it was
Wow.
like a year or two before anything really picked up. So, I mean, they were slogging, the entire industry was slogging through it until, you know, until you hit these hockey wave kind of charts and the cycles of Bitcoin where it goes up and goes down, and you get a little bit of exposure every single time, which is great, you know. But now, you know, you see so much more happening, and it's a huge difference. It's total night and day now, you know,
Yeah.
especially, you know, from like the investor side of things. They've all heard about it, you know, that's just great. You don't have to spend, you know, your first 15 minutes talking about what is the white paper of Bitcoin, what is this, what is that, you know. They kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's so much easier now. Yeah.
Yeah, and the industry overall is moving, you know, super quick. Like you mentioned, that's very exciting. In crypto, like, things change very quickly. You know, when you guys were on our channel before, it was in December 2019. You guys actually mentioned that you kind of pivoted towards the DeFi, uh, which was uh, which was actually a beautiful pivot, because, you know, after that, DeFi pretty much became like the standard. You know, the hottest girl at the dance, per se. So, you know, so jump into Kava. You know, what has changed? You know, so you guys pivoted right to DeFi. You guys start doing lending and borrowing, right, in December. What, you know, what else have you guys introduced, and what kind of success you guys have seen? You know, in 2020, when that sector started blowing up.
Yeah, for us, I mean, like the pivot to DeFi was definitely clutch. I mean, like we saw this kind of coming, and we wanted to be part of it. We wanted to build something that would kind of revolutionize, at least our industry. And I think we've kind of started doing that. We're not finished yet. We wanted to build something on Cosmos. We're really dedicated to this whole cross chain narrative. And for us, it's not just a narrative. For us, it's what we want to do, and we really believe in this future. Where you if you build a great cross chain product, then you're building and connecting all these different communities that were before, all segregated off, without any way to kind of transfer value in between. And now you can kind of build a bigger mass out of all the chains versus just one or two, right? So I mean, for us, yeah, building on top of DeFi has been a great experience so far. I mean, luckily, I mean, whatever it is, we've hit this wave now, and it's not us, this is just, the industry coming to terms that DeFi is really kind of a one way forward for crypto, and for me, it kind of proves that crypto will always be a very financially focused, have financially focused applications that will be kind of the main drivers of growth. People talk about, let's blockchain all the things, right? Let's blockchain supply chain, let's blockchain this, blockchain that. But, as we've seen with Bitcoin, which is just, the first and best kind of example of kind of blockchain technology. Now we have other financial services that are built on blockchain, which is skyrocketing. Now, of course, this might be short-lived or whatever. It could be a big cycle, but where it ends up at is going to be still a lot higher and a lot better than where we started off at. And for us to be able to do that, to be able to build this lending platform, the CDP platform, that for us is on the Cosmos system, competes, I wouldn't say competes against Ethereum, but provides people with an alternative, for us, and then see it grow so quickly over the last couple of months after we've launched this, has given us pretty good feedback, and shows us that we're potentially on the right tracks here.
Yeah, I want to get into the specific products that you guys offer currently and all the stuff that you guys have been up to, like very specifically. But I did want to touch on something you just said, was that you guys saw the DeFi wave coming. What mindset or what environment were you in where you guys kind of saw this coming? A lot of people didn't. A lot of people are, catching this wave now. What were the indicators here that where you guys were like, this is about to happen?
For us, I mean, it was just seeing a lot of the work that was being done on the Ethereum side. I mean, for me personally, I knew that all the right pieces were in place, right? On Ethereum, you have all the different, pieces, which is like the DEXs, and then you had kind of Uniswap, like the AMMs, all these automatic, market makers. You had a lot of liquidity coming in, but it just didn't hit this critical mass. And it was really still this switch of liquidity that turned it all around. So you had all the DEXs, you had all the AMMs, you had all the users, you had MetaMask, you had all these easy on-ramps, and you had a lot of users that were just like hungry for this, but they were all stopped by what was liquidity back then. And then after once, I guess Compound turned it on, and it's funny to me, it took Compound to do it and not anybody else. And for us, it's just one of those things. It's like a timing thing. And it's like, it could have been anybody, but it was Compound that is able to pick the right product for the right time. And for us, that's all about timing, and if you're an entrepreneur, you understand that timing is sometimes 90% of the game, and these guys hit it, right? And it worked out for everybody, so everybody's jumping on, and everybody has seen, some positives out of this. Of course, with this, wave, there are, scary pitfalls that could happen, a lot of scams and a lot of things, but I think this time around, people are a little bit more wary, they're, maybe they've been burned, since the last time in 2017, and now, they're taking things a little bit. I hope they're taking a little bit more cautious. Maybe not. that's for another day.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get into those products that you guys offer. For those that are uninitiated or just don't know much about Kava, what are you guys offering users, and what problem are you trying to solve there?
Yeah, so for us, we're building a CDP system, a collateralized debt positions platform. What that is it allows users to collateralize assets, crypto assets, and take a stablecoin loan against those assets. So, for example, right now we offer the support for BNB. So if users hold BNB, they don't want to sell that BNB for for some sort of asset that they want to use, either for BTC or USDT or some other, usable kind of crypto asset. They want to still hold this, they still want to be exposed to a long on that asset. Well, they can come to our platform, they can collateralize it, they put it into our platform, we tell them how much kind of money that's worth, and then they can take out a stablecoin loan against that. Our stablecoin is called USDX. And so our system will allow you to take as low as 150% collateralization ratio, which if you drop below that, you'll get liquidated. So you don't want to get liquidated. And we suggest, putting a higher ratio, like 3x of what you have, and borrow against, a third of against that. And that basically allows users to extract more value out of the crypto that you earn, or the crypto that you own. So instead of before, when you just had crypto lying around and you're like, well, the only value I have is when I sell it, and that's it. Now there's a system out there, our platform, that allows you to extract a little bit more value by putting it on our platform, collateralizing it, and taking out a loan against it, and then using that potentially to buy more crypto or to pay off some debt. Switching it for some sort of fiat if you go through the on ramps or off ramps, and then after using it as you would money or cash. So that's kind of the system that we built, and we believe that there's a lot of value here, because again, previously, there's not that many ways that you can kind of put value to your assets other than just selling it straight up. And I guess in this market, no one really wants to sell their crypto. And for us, we're really focused on right now on the Binance ecosystem. Where we think our product is going to be used by a lot of traders, because they'll want to, hold on to their crypto and maybe like use it as a long, right? Where they just take out our stable coin, buy more crypto with the stable coin, and then after do it again. So you can do it kind of maybe a couple times before, that kind of cycle runs out. Or, you can also use our system to kind of hedge your positions if you're an experienced or professional trader. So for us, that kind of niche market of these traders is kind of where we're first targeting. But of course, anybody can use it, and as long as you understand the risks that our system has.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's kind of what Kava is building.
Gotcha. And then what kind of APRs do people kind of see, when they do take out this loan?
Loan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our loans are quite low right now. So it's a 5% loan.
Mm-hmm.
So over an entire year, it's a 5% APR. Now, the nice thing is that through this loan, that's how we also pay out an interest rate on holders of our stablecoin. So imagine if your stablecoin that you held it offered you, a savings rate. That's what our stablecoin does. So you hold our USDX in your wallet, you automatically get a 4.5% per year.
Oh, wow.
Back. Yeah. So, I mean, it's quite a good stable coin. I don't think there's anything like it on the market. There's no kind of automatic savings rate that other coins have, other than ours. So I think that's kind of a big game changer. Now, of course, we're waiting to kind of push this out and to see what really happens. But we believe, with what we built with this is going to change a lot of people's ideas of what a stable coin can do, right? Just having a stable coin sit in your wallet and just growing, 4.5% a year seems to be pretty strong. And then on the other side, what we've done is, of course, you hear about liquidity mining, in DeFi, yield farming. We've built an incentive system as well to kind of incentivize kind of the first batch of people using our platform. So what we've done is that when people take out a loan against their collateral, so when they mint USDX, when they take out a loan of USDX, we actually provide those users with Kava rewards. And so in this way, we are rewarding the early users of our platform to interact with us and to mint our stablecoin. And that return is quite high. Right now, I believe it's around like a 50 or 60% APR.
Oh, wow.
Against the BNB collateral that's put in. Yeah, so it's quite high, and it's quite lucrative, I guess. People are clamoring to get in. We have almost $35 million worth of collateral on our platform right now in BNB. I think it's like it's more than 1% of all supply of BNB right now.
Wow.
In our platform. So, I mean, it's quite a lot of BNB that we got. And out of that, we have about $16 million worth of USDX minted. So yeah, we're slowly growing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I saw you on your website, right? When you go on the homepage, you can see
yes,
the number has reached 1 million.
Exactly.
So big day for you guys. But you know, in
thanks.
general, we do see like in DeFi, a lot of these incentivized pools, right? The liquidity and those APRs are pretty high, right? And it
Yes.
seems like it seems like it's kind of like a teaser, right? Because eventually the APR kind of goes down, and then the traders or those that are chasing the yield end up actually moving away from that platform towards the
Yeah.
new platform that is offering the new APR, and then that cycle continues to happen where they keep continue to hop around, and kind of if there was a liquidity on this protocol or this platform, now that liquidity has moved to a different one, and that continues to hop around. Do you guys do you see, is there an issue in that? How do you retain these guys? Do some of them stay? Like, what is that sticking kind of point here
Yeah,
for?
for us, I mean, like it's you have a whole bunch of different users, right? You have users that are just in it for the yield, and they are maximizing that yield. So the second that there's a better option out there, boom, they're out. You know,
Yep.
and then others, they'll be more loyal. They'll maybe they find your platform easier to use, or maybe this just the asset that you offer kind of just gives them that kind of easy to get type of thing. For us, I mean, like we don't worry too much about what's happening behind the scenes with these users. We believe, of course, when you start out, and the way that we've built our system is, in the very beginning, the yields are going to be high, and the way that we've designed it is that we have a set amount of Kava rewards that's going to be printed out no matter what. So within 1 year, we've set it where every week we're basically giving away 74,000 Kava. And so that's in over 52 weeks, every single week, 74,000 Kava. And as more and more USDX is being minted, that same amount of Kava will be sent out to more and more people. So of course, that the total APRs that everyone's going to get is going to be a smaller and smaller amount as more and more people clamor in. So we will see this this equilibrium of a lot lower kind of total APR. But we hope that it's still going to be higher than any sort of return that you can get on BNB off of Binance's own kind of offerings, off their lending or off their borrowing. For us, we believe that our APR will still be quite high. Now, I don't know if let's say like the next hot product comes out for BNB, maybe like in the short term they'll be able to offer really, really high rewards. At that point, it's going to be kind of a fight to the death on kind of rates. But I think at this point in time, we've got a fairly good kind of head start, so that helps us a little bit. And for us, it's not just BNB, right? We'll be offering more and more support for more and more assets, and each of these assets will have some sort of incentivized reward that will be determined by governance. So we don't determine this as Kava Labs. We have our users vote. Or not users, let's say Kava holders vote for kind of what they believe to be kind of the right reward for the right level. And so, we're going to have this for all the different assets that we're launching. And then we hope that, in the long run, we'll have different rates for all the different assets, and they'll all find their own kind of equilibrium, whatever that is. And I mean, some will be very, very competitive, some will be overly competitive, and some will be not so competitive. I'm sure of it, just because the way our system is built and the way people vote for things, it's not going to be super consistent. But again, I believe, we have this early mover advantage, and we're not going to squander this one. So, we're moving forward pretty fast.
Yeah, we love what you guys are doing at Kava Labs, man. We truly do. We liked what you guys, the vision Brian had back in the day when we interviewed him, and we love what you guys have implemented so far. The idea of like bootstrapping liquidity and activity via native token makes sense. The idea also that you can have native governance within a protocol using that token is also a good idea. But I want to kind of like break that down, right? Because that can almost look like an ICO concept where it's like, oh, in reality, this plays out a different way, right? In theory, on paper, it sounds great that you can distribute these tokens and everyone can live in Kumbaya land and have governance. You actually need to make this work, right? And it takes a lot of work to make governance work. So what are you guys doing with the Kava token to incentivize governance, voting, all of these things that lead to a more kind of decentralized platform?
Yeah, for us, I mean, like right now is just trying to get turnout, more and more turnout for all these things. I mean, it's pretty tough to make sure that people are voting, are using the system and building a healthy community around this, right? Because if the government doesn't work, right, then kind of like all things kind of go downhill from there. So for us, that's kind of a major focus. For us, we've already done more than 15 or 16 proposals, right, in the last since we started. So the mainnet has been online since November of last year, so it's more than kind of one a month. Not everything has passed, right? So I mean, like we don't expect everything to pass. There are going to be some proposals that get voted down, but the ones that get voted through, we believe have gone through a rigorous process, and have been vetted, and of course the reason why they pass is because the entire community kind of, or the majority of the community at least, believes in what we're doing. I mean, that's part of the things. Of course, a lot of education is still needed. I think perhaps having our validators play a more important role in kind of creating good proposals, smarter proposals, and of course us as the leaders of the community having to educate people exactly what's really going on, kind of be behind things. I think a lot of the users might not just, they're not reading all the updates that we're doing. They're not really understanding a lot of the technical stuff. They're just like, oh, this sounds good or this looks good. They might not really know kind of what's really the best thing. So I think there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done, especially a lot of things that we're doing is very, very experimenting, I guess. And we want people to fully understand what they're voting for. And again, when we rely on our community for the direction of our platform and our, I guess, and governments is driven by that, we want to make sure that's in a healthy and the right direction. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so complex and dynamic that it's tough to have like a single conversation about governance. But you guys definitely have a unique feature in that you guys have aligned yourself pretty closely with Binance and that community. I wonder, like, how has that played out in reality in so far? I think most of these DeFi platforms kind of have to bootstrap just from their own community, see what they can do, pull from that kind of pool of users essentially, or investors. What has been the kind of process of integrating these Binance users? Are the users that are coming from Binance more active, less active? What's the situation there?
Getting selected by Binance to go on their launchpad was huge for us, right? And then being able to work with them closely, and of course, offering BNB as our first asset, it aligns us very, very well with Binance. Now it's, we don't want to be aligned with them completely. We're not saying, hey, we're only going to be working with Binance and not other platforms or other companies or whatever. This happens to be the first one, and then we're going to make this one work, and then it gives us a blueprint for how do we expand this for, how do we copy this for kind of other ecosystems. But for us, it's been great so far. They've been super supportive. It's great when a team as big as Binance is still working, not just with us, but with a lot of their different kind of partner companies. And for us, especially for us being in DeFi, they've jumped on board fully on embracing DeFi. You would think for one of the for I guess the largest exchange in crypto and centralized business, right? They might have their own ideas of what DeFi really means, but for them, and I think this came down from the top, I think, from CZ, where he really believes in this kind of decentralized world, right? The reason why he's in crypto is for this decentralization, and for him, it's a do or die thing, and it's like, even though they're the biggest centralized exchange out there, and they'll probably still keep on being kind of one of the largest and centralized exchange out there, but they also know that the future in building DeFi, building the decentralized side is going to help crypto overall. So I think, and having that, and us being part of it, they've shown a lot of support. So recently they've launched this DeFi staking product, which they just announced this past week, with DAI, Compound, and now with us, Kava and BNB. And I believe, they'll be building that out, and it shows that, they really do have kind of crypto users' interest at heart. They've seen DeFi and they're trying to push that. They're not trying to go against it and be like, what, we don't believe in DeFi. We're going to be pushing a centralized stance. No, I mean, like they've been totally helpful. So it's been great.
Yeah, CZ and Binance have made some good moves over the past, like, I would say 6 months around this kind of DeFi craze. So definitely congrats to them. Congrats to you guys. I kind of want to hop out a little bit. We had the Framework Ventures guys on the day that everything collapsed. Like it was Black Thursday. We had them on.
Yeah.
It was early in the morning. You could tell.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to
It's
show
like
up, to be
tears.
honest. Yeah, I didn't expect. I was like, these guys, no way they show up. They have all these big stakes and like all of these different DeFi protocols that are now down 50%. I was like, no way they show up. They actually showed up. We did a great interview. It was awesome. But since Black Thursday, Kava's been up. I think Kava's up 1,500% since Black Thursday, and
Quite a lot.
yeah, definitely. So congrats to any Kava holders
Thank
that
you.
participated in that. But I wanted to get you guys do lending and borrowing, you guys do DeFi. You weren't immune to what happened that day. What, from like a technical standpoint, actually like a Kava Labs standpoint, and also from like your psychological standpoint of dealing with, being in the midst of this kind of hurricane, kind of give me a breakdown. Did you guys were you guys able to do your service during this time, and kind of how did that all break down?
For us, I mean, we were kind of lucky. I mean, like we were still heads down deep in building our product. Our product hadn't launched yet in March, right? So we were, I'm not to say we were immune, but we were kind of disassociated from that whole thing because, I guess luckily our product hadn't launched. If our product had launched, we probably would have seen a lot of liquidations on our product, and that would have kind of stifled a lot of our speed, just because we would have to figure out how to move on from there, and then how to make people whole and figure out kind of the kinks in the system. Because I'm sure back then, crypto losing, what is that, 60%, 70% in a day, it kind of kills everything that you're trying to build. So that, I mean, luckily we hadn't launched there. So we were super heads down building our product. We were just like, this is not going to stop us. We still had deadlines to hit. Psychologically though, of course, it's a bit of a trip. And of course, you hear people just screaming. I mean, you're looking at your own portfolio and you're like, what's going on? You look at other people and just like heads down, quiet and everything, I mean, but I guess for me, I've been in this space quite a while now. So I've seen these ups and downs, and it gets a little bit easier every single time. I'm not going to say it's easy. It definitely isn't. Your heart kind of skips a few beats and you don't feel good for like a week, or maybe for a while longer even, but it comes with the game. It comes with this industry, and we move so fast, and we get so many highs and so many lows in such a short amount of time. I'm not going to say that you get immune to this, but it's just one of those things where like it's just another day, and you just got to slog through it. And if you're going to let this break you, then maybe you're not fit to work in this industry or something like that. So it's just got to keep kind of focused. And I think, of course, us having this end goal of we've got to make sure we launch a product within a certain amount of time frame, and that we can prove that what we're actually doing can actually work. So that kind of kept us on goal, right? So having those things, and our team is small, and Brian and Scott and the rest of the team, all super focused in making sure things are working. I mean, during that time, there are some days where everyone's just kind of like, nothing's really going on, or it's like, oh, I just had another crap day or something like that, but you're in it as a team, and you got to get it to the finish line. So yeah. I mean, it's a startup life, it's all those things, and just got to get through the day.
Yeah, for sure. That timing for you guys with the product was definitely pretty good, as far as the industry goes. So what I was going to ask you about is just in general, kind of look at the DeFi and the Black Friday that occurred, right? There was actually a systematic issue that was occurring, right? There was first of all, it was that global pandemic, right? And the total, chase for liquidity. We saw, stocks, gold, everything kind of like dropping. Everybody's going to dollars. It impacted crypto, and in a way where liquidity started drying up, right, on certain exchanges. There's cascading liquidations, but also there's cascading liquidations in the borrowing and lending sector that experienced very high gas fees, right? So the networks clogged up, right, and the gas fees were astronomical, and that basically puts down. It puts the negative balance for some of these positions, which is like something that shouldn't really occur, because it's smart contract, and that shouldn't be happening. We have enough collateral, and that was pretty bad, right, for the whole industry. So where do you see that right now? Because a lot of people right now are seeing that there is a credit bubble right now in the DeFi that can actually explode and have the trickling effect into the spot market, into the futures markets. And if it starts unwinding and some of these gas fees start clogging up the network again, has there been any solutions that you kind of seen? Obviously you guys are doing something different from, from the
Yeah,
Ethereum, right?
from the Ethereum side. Yeah.
So what is your kind of opinion about like the credit that's growing in the Ethereum network, and if that starts unwinding, if the price starts liquidating and so on?
Yeah, I mean, on the Ethereum side, I mean, you see it now, right? I mean, gas wars happening a lot of the time now, and especially with the amount of mining that's happening on the network. It just keeps the gas fees high, right? It's like an average of like, I mean, the lowest average on a daily basis I saw was like 60 or 70, maybe 80, and then after like on a medium day it's like 120, 180, and a high day it's like 300 or something, right? So it's getting kind of insane. When I want to do a transaction on Ethereum, like I'm paying gas fees up the wazoo, and it's taking, like 5 minutes or something. I mean, it's not, I mean, I'm paying high, so it's like, that's why 5 minutes. I paid something before, it was super low, it took like 20 minutes. I'm super surprised it went through. But yeah, I mean, there are problems there. I hope, that no, and I mean, like, and I mean, if there is a huge clog up, I mean, like it's going to happen again, right? I mean, like none of the smart contracts can execute, and if smart contracts can execute, then liquidations will happen, right? I mean, like, and things will get, negative to, right, or whatever, and it's going to be bad. But I hope that at least part of it is that there's enough liquidity out there that some of these problems are solved. But I don't think all of them will be, right? Because if gas fees are super high and nothing can go through, then the contracts aren't working as they should be, right? So there's going to be issues there. For us, we're not on the Ethereum network. We have our own system, and for now, we don't have clogging of the network. We run our own blockchain, and we just don't have enough transactions per second right now to clog it out. And we have, Cosmos, which is 10,000 transactions per second, as at a theoretical maximum. We haven't really maxed it out yet. We haven't really tried to, on our main net, we haven't really tried to stress test this. But I mean, we believe for now, we're not going to experience these things. Now, I'm not going to say that, maybe 3-4 years from now, or maybe even 2 years from now, if we become super, super huge and we've got like, 10,000 dApps running on Kava, what are we going to do then? I mean, those are big, those are good questions. Those are big questions. And we hope to have those answers, by then. But it's taken one day at a time. And for now, though, I mean, Ethereum definitely has some scaling issues. I think everyone's really just looking forwed to ETH 2.0 whenever that kind of comes out. It's slowly getting there.
When
Yeah,
exactly. When 2.0, right? When I mean, like everyone's holding, at least 32 ETH in order to get that node, right? Is that what everybody's doing right now? So I mean, I of course I hope this, this comes out sooner than later. And I'm still a huge believer in Ethereum, and I'd say Vitalik and the team that's working on it. But they've got big challenges ahead of them. And I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see Ethereum fail, except for maybe some Bitcoin maximalists, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to see this kind of smoothly go through, because there's so much value in what Vitalik and in what Ethereum, the community, not just Vitalik, but everybody has built. I think there's just so much out there that we've learned, Kava has learned from, right? Building an ecosystem that's kind of based on the MakerDAO side of things, and then figuring out kind of what comes next. Ethereum has been great in showing kind of where users are finding value, and I hope we all hope that this continues, and that it can keep on growing. But I think, of course, scaling is a big issue. The other upside is, there's going to be a lot more other public chains that are growing. We've seen recently Cosmos is growing, Solana has gotten some kind of pickup. Other blockchains, are also going as well. So, if there's too much clog on Ethereum side, you're going to see developers move to the next best chain, and it is what it is. And that's what's great about crypto. You have all these different options now, instead of just one chain or two chains.
Yeah, and that's something we talk about quite often. It's just how okay, there's certain issues on Ethereum that are have potential risk of clogging up the network, gas fees and stuff, and then there's other networks that actually have it pretty much solved and laid out. It's been operating for a while. But the activity, though, is kind of low in terms of DeFi, and we haven't really seen that big push, right, of people kind of migrating devs and and so on.
Yeah.
I think if those networks probably come out, the high APR, the yield chasing guys will come through, and that will attract them, right? Eventually. I just hope that the Ethereum, if we do get an unwinding, like for it not to get to that same stage that we had back in Black Friday or Black Thursday, where it would take us, back where people have to feel the pain in Ethereum to look at other protocols again, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of, that people kind of often forget that, hey, this thing can actually occur again. Really there was no solution for this problem. Another thing that I want to mention about the liquidity providers, right, that are available right now, they really don't have much of a penalty to kind of dip out, right, if they want,
Yeah.
right? So and then in order for them to dip out, they actually have to pay gas fees as well. So if the gas fees go through the roof, you could say
Yep.
that the guys that want to close positions can't close positions to liquidate, and the liquidity providers probably can't pull out because they have to pay the gas fees. So it
Yep.
turns out to
They're
be
gonna.
this ridiculous like setup, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly. It all starts to break down once nothing can get executed, right? So yeah,
yeah.
we'll see how that. I mean, it goes. I mean, of course, more liquidity begets liquidity, but once you kind of get spiraled into this kind of death thing, right? It just it goes to oblivion. So.
Dimitri's talked about this death spiral twice in this episode already, and he's still holding DeFi tokens.
Yeah. Hey,
Busted.
you don't short a bull, right? I mean, like you
Exactly.
get burned shorting a bull, but I mean, everyone's just wary, right? I mean, I think we're all in this space long enough, and we see the potential growth, but at the same time, it's great that we're thinking about the potential risks, right? We're talking about that now, and I think that's a big major difference from the last cycle. Right. And I'm not saying this is like the one cycle that we're going to see this year. There's probably going to be other mini cycles, and this is probably a mini cycle. It's not like the major bull, but the fact that we're talking about these risks is a huge difference from the last time, where everyone was just like, hey, blockchain, all the things, ICO, everything, So
I want to give a quick shout out. Somebody in our lads community here just dropped that and asked the question about all of these different YAM forks and all this stuff happening. I think it is coming to like a fever pitch a little bit. It definitely, some of these are starting to get a little bit ridiculous, but I do appreciate most of the innovation that's happening within DeFi. I think like it's better to innovate and break things as we go forward. So I did have one question more here. More so along the lines of China and maybe DeFi's appetite, or China's appetite for DeFi at this stage. I know Brian kind of schooled me last time. We were talking about DeFi, and at that point it was more kind of not as tangible, right? It wasn't right in front of our face. I think you guys saw it, but a lot of us didn't. And he was saying that DeFi actually was like taking off more so in China than it was in the US. What do you make of the kind of timeline there as you've seen China adopt DeFi? Is it quicker than the US? Have they been innovating more on that front maybe than the US and the West in general?
I think of course China's very quick to pick up any sort of new technologies, and of course if there's any kind of money making scheme behind it or potential behind it, they'll pick it up even faster. What we've seen is that there's been a pretty quick fever pitch about DeFi. So they're jumping on to the next big things, and I mean I think a lot of people are getting burned, but a lot of people are jumping in. And I think partly I think a lot of the Chinese users are big risk takers. They've taken big risks to be in crypto. They've taken big risks earlier, to create different crypto projects or to work on different blockchains or anything, and they're not afraid to take these risks. So for them, DeFi is just like the next thing that they're going to try their hands on and either participate as a farmer or whatever, or building on top of, or forking or whatever. And I think there's quite a lot of innovation here. I mean, a lot of it is not just copying what the West is doing. There are their own kind of innovative forks and kind of other innovative kind of governance types. But I mean, I feel like partly there is this need to kind of move faster and to earn yields on people's crypto. And I mean, I feel like a lot of people here hold more crypto on average than kind of maybe people in the West or maybe people in Europe or something. And they have this abundance of kind of crypto assets, and DeFi just gives these people a way to earn off of it just by simply putting it onto a platform, just by providing liquidity, right? And part of this liquidity mining actually, I believe started off in China. There was an exchange called Fcoin, and I don't know if it's if it's well known, outside of China, but they basically created a token where it was called transaction mining. So if you basically transacted on a platform, if you did a trade on this exchange, they would return you a piece of their token, right? And that piece of the token would be worth whatever it was. And that was kind of the first instance of kind of liquidity mining at a really large scale. It blew up. It went crazy for like a month, and then it died, like really, really quickly later. Yeah, so it was like a huge
What
thing.
year
Like
was
everyone,
this?
this was 2017 or 2017, 2018, right?
Oh,
So it was like
wow.
during the whole ICO era, and it was just like this new exchange came out of nowhere, and it blew up, and it kind of disappeared, and it's no longer around really. But they were the first to kind of explore this kind of transaction mining, and there are a couple other exchanges that were kind of doing this as well. And I actually ran an exchange for a short amount of time that was also doing transaction mining. So it was a great way to kind of bootstrap liquidity, right? Because as every exchange operator knows, if you don't have liquidity, no users are going to come and play on your exchange, right? You just don't have what it takes, and you have to start from somewhere. Either you have a lot of capital yourself or from investors, or you've got to find innovative ways to do it. And this was one of those ways. And that's what people have taken out of this DeFi liquidity mining, is that it's just an innovative way to bootstrap liquidity, where before that was the biggest bottleneck. And in Asia, I feel like these mechanics have been around for a little bit. So people are finding definite innovative ways, and some are, I would say, Ponzi type, so quite scary, right? I mean, like, and others are maybe a little bit more transparent and kind of sustainable, let's say, right? And I guess at the end of the day, we will see which ones are more sustainable, because they'll last, and the ones that are Ponzi will have huge growth, and they'll kind of quickly burn out, and people will get burned, losing funds and stuff. But for them, it's all a game. And I feel like people, I mean, and for me, it's like, it's funny, because like, you hear about people going to Ponzi's, and they're like, and I have some friends, or people that I know, acquaintances, that will not actively try and search for these, but will play, right? And they just treat it like a game. And I'm like, well, why do you play this if you know that at the end of the day, if you stay long enough, you get burned? And they're like, it's all a game. The first one in, first one out. And if you kind of know what you're going in, and you're being transparent about it, like FOMO 3D is or whatever, then it's like, the rules of the game, and you walk out knowing, well, that it is what it is, and either I won or I lost. And I was like, interesting, like it's a casino at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because it was like, back in the day when we had the big connect, a lot of people were screaming, right, raising red flags, right? Everybody kind of knew it was like kind of Ponzi setup there.
Yeah.
But people were still participating. It's because it's kind of like the psychology there is like, hey, listen, I'm just there to chase the yield. I'm going to dip out, and I'm not going to be the last guy holding the bag, but they still actively knew that and participated. So that reminded me, of that story there.
Yeah.
So we're kind of running up here towards the end. I wanted to zoom out a little bit more, since we start, talking about China there, other regions of the world, before we have this interview, right? We talked about Latin America. You mentioned this is blowing up, right? We saw I saw huge OTC activity used to be happening there. I don't know how much is happening right now, but the Latin America growth is huge right now. There's other regions that are blowing up. There's obviously economic hardship that's going on right now in the world, in some of these countries as well, with huge inflation, and people are struggling, and also kind of the governments are clamping down on terms of mobility of their local currency into out of the local currency into dollar, let's say, to prevent the inflation and so on. What do you see as far as the crypto goes? In the current environment where we are now, certain areas that are struggling more economically. Are you seeing more growth there in crypto, or what are your thoughts about the next
Yeah,
regions?
I mean, like, I don't know exactly, because I'm not living there, but I think anecdotally, and I'm hearing some, and also reading reports about it, it seems like, people have definitely started looking towards other assets, whether or not it is crypto specifically, or is it gold or silver, or, precious metals, commodities, all these things, right? And I think, in the time that we're in, financial crisis, almost recession happening across the world, in some areas it's a lot worse than others. And also government instability, in some regions, which leads to kind of monetary instability. People are trying to have people have a flight to kind of better quality assets, right? And I believe crypto is one of those, right? And from now we've seen over the last few months, crypto has performed phenomenally well, right? Overall, compared to the rest of the kind of things out there for investments. And part of that's probably related to the U.S. Fed printing a crap ton of money and governments all around printing money. But it just shows you that after the money's printed, where does it go towards, right? It's going towards metals, commodities, crypto, other things, blue chip stocks, right? Those type of things, and crypto's part of it. So I think this narrative is going strong. Now, if it's just a short-term narrative, who knows? But I believe this is like a long-term. If you really zoom out on a macro side, right? This is just part of this long-term kind of narrative where people are eventually finding where good quality assets live, right, for the long term. Crypto is one of those. I mean, like hearing about stories of people in, I guess Latin America has some areas that people are kind of buying crypto. I have some friends that are in Brazil and they were doing a lot of OTC back in the day, and they're still saying, I mean, now, it's still happening. And I've read a story about kind of in Lebanon. I don't know if it's true. I read a news report, on one of the crypto blogs, that there's been a flurry of kind of activity towards OTC, trying to get, flight to kind of better asset quality, just because the local currency is inflating at a pretty high rate. So we start to see this, and seeing also governments be more supportive, I guess, of crypto. Of course, I mean, maybe not in those regions, but I just overall, you're seeing, a little bit more openness from the banks, at least, to kind of work with crypto. And maybe that's out of a profitability thing, seeing, they're just like looking at kind of what can make them money. But seeing those happen, eventually there'll be more and more ways for people to get in, whether or not that's subverting what the government really wants at the end of the day, we'll see. But, I think the private sector has started to open up their eyes a little bit about what we're doing, and we're seeing the same thing from a Kava standpoint, from like fintech companies and kind of newer banks, that perhaps before wouldn't have really put crypto on the radar. For now they're looking at it, they're like, oh, this is actually a new sector that could actually bring in pretty good revenues for us, comparatively to the rest of the business units that they have. So that's been kind of big. Recently, what you also heard about this kind of I don't know what the company is called. It was just a news piece that I just read the other day. It was saying how this traditional business intelligence company bought, 120 something thousand Bitcoin or something like that. Oh, wow. Basically at market rate or something. Yeah. I forget the name of the company. Yeah. It was crazy. It was like, they're like, well, we're going to buy Bitcoin to pad our reserves. Right. So in the reserves, they have Bitcoin now. And also dollars and maybe other foreign currencies that they do business in. But I was like, I read that and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem like fake news to me. It seemed pretty real. I think even Bloomberg kind of like reported on it. So there's something going on there, right?
Yeah,
you start to see companies moving.
Yeah, the name escapes me, but I do remember seeing that article as well. Yeah, the foreign currency discussion is definitely interesting as it comes to stable coins. We had Reserve on the podcast, I believe, a week ago now, and they're doing a lot of work on the ground in Venezuela specifically for their stable coin. So it'll be interesting to see USDX. Will it be used as a payment kind of system or a unit of account or like some type of payment in these on the ground distressed countries? So yeah, definitely a conversation Dimitri could have for an hour. So we won't get into it. I did have a couple last questions.
Sure.
Before we kind of like finish up here, is there anything we didn't kind of hit with Kava? I know we had a phenomenal conversation here, Aaron, but maybe we missed something that you guys are releasing soon, or maybe just we didn't hit on. Is there anything there?
Yeah, for us, I mean, like we've got a whole stuff, we've got a lot of things in the pipeline, and I can talk a little bit about kind of what we're building, So, I mean, of course, we're super hard at work. We just launched this Kava 3 update that we had with our mainnet, which supported our CDP system. So that kind of went live. Now we're working on our next one, which is Kava 4. We just announced that we just, launched our testnet for that. And then it'll probably be a little bit of time before we can launch this live. What this Kava 4 upgrade is going to do is that it's going to support other Binance assets. So right now we do BNB. Moving forward, we'll be able to do other Binance or BEP tokens. So maybe stuff like all of the stuff on the DEX, maybe BUSD, maybe BTCB, all the other things that kind of open up kind of the entire Binance ecosystem. So, we're trying to make that more solid, trying to make this bridge that we've built between our chain and the Binance chain a lot better to kind of support those things. And that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months on the mainnet. So I guess people can look forward to that. And then of course, super exciting still is this, again, this partnership with Binance that we have, that we've, built this DeFi staking, and that again, Binance has been really supportive of doing this DeFi staking. Again, it just easily allows people to, allows Binance users to experience yield farming without having to do really anything, right? Binance takes care of it. Of course, I mean, there are risks, and people need to understand the risks that they're putting their money in, and Binance has written it all out, right? So I want to tell people, read it. Don't just assume anything, and definitely understand what you're doing. But it's a fairly simple way to get involved. Maybe people think yield farming is like, oh, only the nerds do it, or only guys with bots or whatever. Like, no, it's not. It's a lot easier said, or it's a lot easier done, than you think. So I mean, like, I want everybody to kind of experience this, and that's kind of what we're building here at Kava. We want, at the end of the day, of course, we want our traders, we want the pros to kind of use this. That's our dream. But of course, even bigger than that is to have any normal user that has crypto, and that they could easily do it with 1 or 2 clicks. We're not there yet, right? But we'll eventually get there, and that's kind
Gotcha. Are you guys looking to also start working with some of the other exchanges? I know you guys are pretty cool with OKX, and a couple others, right? So Binance is becoming a very good, successful partnership there. You guys looking to do some as well with others?
Yeah, for us, I mean, like, for us, this first step is building a good framework for how to work with CeFi, right? So because we're coming from a DeFi side of things, we believe there is a good integration for CeFi plus DeFi, right? Which is us plus Binance, or us plus another CeFi exchange. And once we get this done, which we're fairly good about, we're definitely looking for the next big things, right? So we are partners with OKX, we're partners with Huobi. They are validators for us. Their pool businesses support Kava. And we're looking to kind of build those out for them. We're also looking at other exchanges that are large and that are going in. We have a good relationship with Upbit in Korea, with Coin1 in Korea. Kraken has listed us too. So I mean, like, we have all these different all these different exchange relationships that we have, that we're definitely looking at, and that we want to grow. Partly is DeFi, having Kava, for our product, it's a great option for users of CeFi. They can probably get lending, from the CeFi exchange that they're on, right? Binance or Bitfinex or whatever exchange will probably offer you lending at a fairly good rate. But some users, want to have other options, and potentially a DeFi option might be lower cost, might be better rates, right? I'm not saying that they always are, but it's another option out there. Plus, it's decentralized, so part of the risk is going to be taken away. And those considerations, I think those considerations are what people are looking for in our industry, right? That are in crypto. So again, that only strengthens the offerings that any CeFi exchange has. They're like, hey, you come to us, we provide you with our lending. You can use Kava, you can use another one, you can use somebody else. You just have it. It's a buffet of different kind of options. And I think that's, at the end of the day, everybody in crypto just kind of wants to have that. And for us, we're lucky that we can at least provide one of those.
Yeah, Aaron, this has been a phenomenal conversation. We could honestly be on here for like a whole nother hour. You guys have come on for your second time on Layer 1 and absolutely killed it. So we are going to kind of wrap up the episode here. I had a question from our community. One guy, and I'm not paraphrasing at all, I'm quoting directly. Does Aaron own any YAMS? And I need you to answer this question specifically. Do you own YAMS?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And I mined the YAM. I mean, I did buy a little bit, but I did mine some too.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right. So last question.
I farmed.
Yeah, you're a farmer yourself. Okay. So last question, book recommendation. We ask everybody that comes on the channel. A book recommendation could be crypto, non-crypto. What do you got?
Yeah. I mean, the blog that I read the most is really a Stratechery by Ben Thompson. So that's a really, really good blog that I recommend.
Or if there's a podcast that you listen to too,
No, I mean, of course, you guys. We
set that one up for you. Okay. All right,
Definitely.
Aaron. Well, this was a great episode. We'll have all the links to Aaron's social media, as well as Kava's, obviously, in the description. So, Aaron, again, man, thanks for coming on the channel. Can't wait to have you guys back on for the third time in like 6 months.
Awesome. Cool. Q, Dimitri, thank you for having me, and Kava definitely appreciates this opportunity. And thank you everybody for watching.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to check out Layer 1 on all the audio and video platforms listed in the description. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.